Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the Washington Capitals by a final score of 5-3. A really, really poor, sloppy, ugly game by the Rangers, who were outshot 46-19 against the Washington Capitals. And this is a team the Rangers swept in the first round last year. Clearly, the Capitals are a team that seems to be ascending. And I am impressed, like I had said last season, I am impressed by Spencer Carberry and kind of the type of style that Washington's playing with, and to sort of transition in a world where Alex Ovechkin is, kind of at the end of the line. And the interesting thing was that he had 2 early goals in this game after really being shut down in that playoff series last season. As far as this division's concerned, you're now seeing Carolina starting to play more of their game. And Washington as well clearly is no joke, but for the Rangers, who sit at 6-2-1, it's actually a pretty misleading record. Like in the tougher games on paper, they've really struggled. I mean, that Florida game was not good. I know they won at Toronto, but I feel like that was a big Igor game. And then this one at Washington, Shesterkin, he's going to want to have that first goal back. But beyond that, man, it was just he was doing everything he could to keep them in it. So, and the goals were kind of all at once. It was interesting. Besides the empty net goal, it was 4-3 Caps at the 4:44 mark of the second, and then no more goals the rest of the game again until that empty net goal. So, Rangers play the Caps only 3 times this year. That sometimes it's a rotation thing with the way the schedule works. It's kind of crazy that you don't play a team in your division at least 4 times every single year. But yeah, only 3 versus the Caps. The next game will be January 4th in Washington. But you could tell the Caps, they wanted I think they wanted to exact a little bit of revenge. I mean, from last year getting swept. And I wish the Rangers could have had that same energy against the Florida Panthers, which did not happen. So Laviolette is going to have a really hard job as far as reeling in this core, because we know how they get. We know how they get in terms of losing that defensive intensity. And, year one seems to go pretty well. Now, I guess I'm talking specifically about Gerard Gallant and how year one, attention to detail, playing the right way. And then year 2 is more than good enough to make the playoffs, but you don't look back at that 2023 season in such a good way. And look, I like Peter Laviolette and this staff more than Gallant. I'll say that straight out, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to the players. And they cannot get into bad habits because they are. And I think the winning only makes it worse in a way. So, look, I think that the Rangers will bounce back. I don't think that they'll necessarily go on a long losing spell, but they really have to clean this up because it hadn't really been biting them. This one it did. So let's discuss a couple of things roster-wise before we get into the game. So Matt Rempe, and I totally disagree with the way that they're going about this. Rempe was called up after a couple of games at Hartford to play this game. They scratched Johnny Brodzinski, and Rempe fought former Ranger Dylan McElrath in this game. Rempe played 5 minutes of action, in 8 shifts. What is that accomplishing? I mean, Rempe basically, I'm not going to say he got his ass kicked, but McElrath won that fight pretty cleanly. Rempe should definitely be in Hartford, as far as I'm concerned. This type of usage, it's not helping anyone. Because then when he plays, Edstrom barely gets any action. Carrick only because he gets a little bit of penalty time, gets a little bit more time on ice. But this isn't me saying that Johnny Brodzinski's anything special. The point is that Matt Rempe, you're better served until you really trust him at all. Send him down. And plus, Jimmy Vesey is going to be back fairly soon anyway. So I don't think we're going to see much of Rempe. But they're playing Washington. We got to have Rempe in there. I don't agree with that. So that's first off. And then let's discuss defense and then maybe go back to forward. So defense, I really felt as if there should have been somewhat of an overhaul with this defense in the offseason. And there wasn't. And the big thing would have been, maybe getting Trouba out of the mix, which did not happen. among other things. I mean, I think the one good thing is the way they handled the Lindgren situation. It is a good thing that there's only 1 year left of Lindgren. Like, he's not as good as he once was, and I don't think he's someone that you want in the future. And it pains me to say that because this is someone that has given it everything he's had. I always want to make mention that this is one of the hardest working players in the team, but just he doesn't, just skills wise, and it's just not really. I mean, we know that, but it's beyond that. He's not very fast. He's not overly big, and it's what makes him admirable, and it's why you're kind of drawn to him. But that Lindgren Trouba pair, don't love it, and they actually switched it up, which also isn't great. So by the end of the game, third period rolls around, and it's back to Lindgren Fox, and it's back to Miller Trouba, and you can't feel great about that either. Now, Keandre Miller, like, he is so fucking frustrating. I can't stand it. And look, he's a restricted free agent at the end of the season. He's gonna be back. I certainly hope that they're not breaking the bank, though. Because it's one of those things where you feel it's to the point where I talk about the upside and his raw abilities, but like, he kind of is what he is. He is a guy that yes, I want him on my team, but just be aware that like there's going to be turnovers and just boneheaded mistakes. Not the smartest hockey player I've ever seen. And yeah, so ultimately now Miller Fox, that could be done for now. I wonder for that in the next game against Ottawa, what does Laviolette start with? I wouldn't be fucking surprised if they go back to the old reliables. I'm saying that kind of in jest. Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Trouba. And that brings me to the third pair. So Steiner on his offside with Mancini. I thought Mancini struggled a bit in this game. He wasn't terrible. Made some nice plays, but I thought there was some struggles. Again, Zach Jones is just getting the raw end of the deal. So he came back in there for one game against the Ducks, and then he's a healthy scratch again. So what's going to happen is this. Those other 5 defensemen are going to be in there basically all the time, and they're going to be going back and forth between Mancini and Jones, with Mancini seeming to have the leg up. I don't agree with that. You need someone that can move the puck out of the zone. That's what Zach Jones can do. I'm not saying play Zach Jones every game, but be fair about it. And if you have to scratch Lindgren on the odd occasion, you do so. It'll never happen. If you have to scratch Brady, like if you have to scratch fucking Keandre Miller, you do it. Like, it's not fair, and it's going to lead me to something else with the forwards. It's politics at the end of the day. If we're doing it based on who deserves it, as opposed to how they're being deployed, it's two different things. So, yeah, again, I don't feel great about these defensemen collectively. Like, yeah, you look at it on paper individually, and it's like, okay, like, it doesn't seem that bad, but as a unit, like, I don't think that they lead you to the promised land. I'm just being honest. You could do worse, yeah, for sure, and you hope that Mancini evolves, Zach Jones, although, again, the way that they're being played, I don't think that's great for development. Now let's go back to the forwards. Let me get the positivity out first. Filipino line, great. I think Chytil with Cooley and Kako have been nothing short of just like brilliant. Honestly, like what they're doing offensively and defensively, they should be getting as much ice time as possible, and they are getting a good amount of ice time. Let me just say that right now, but it could be more. And I think about the power play and the penalty kill. Sure, why not that too, right? I guess I'm thinking more about Cooley in that sense, but like, let those guys get their ice time. And that brings me to specifically Mika Zibanejad, who looks like an absolute fucking train wreck. He looks fucking terrible. First off, I will also say the Trocheck line tonight was not good. Panarin's point streak is over. And it's no surprise that versus a hard-checking playoff-style kind of roster in what Washington does have, it's not the biggest surprise that would be the night that Panarin, who's been unbelievable, don't get me wrong, but again, it's kind of that instinct from me, when I think about, again, Panarin with playoffs, Like, and even though he did look, like there were good moments in the Washington Carolina series before the Florida one, just not being up to what you needed it to be. But what about Mika Zibanejad, who was even worse, markedly worse? And he had comments with Larry Brooks. And you know what? On the one hand, I don't mind him saying, hey, like, I want ice time. You should. Like, anyone who's playing, they should want that. That's the problem if they don't. But when he makes comments like insinuating, yeah, if I got more ice time, then I'd be more effective. Come on. Give me a fucking break with that. Like you should have been off this number one power play unit a long, long time ago. So I don't want to hear, even though his ice time, it is down. Like, there's no question that it is less. So, like, improvements, like, by Laviolette are there, but there's still more to go. There really is. And I look forward to the day when he's not on the number one power play anymore. And it doesn't mean that I would necessarily want that forever, but I guess kind of when you think about the other personnel. But it is, yeah, the Zibanejad situation is certainly one of concern, considering that this contract is going to be for another 6 seasons, I think, after this one, which is just kind of mind-boggling. And I'm not giving up on him, but it's just completely unacceptable. And to a lesser extent, Kreider. It would be nice to break those two up. I don't know how you do it, to be fair, because you don't want to change the Panarin line. You don't want to change the Heat line. So I get that it's not easy. And you know, it's kind of crazy. Like, Riley Smith ends up kind of like he almost ends up looking bad, but I know where it comes from. It comes from Zibanejad and Kreider, specifically Zibanejad, but I don't think we can let Kreider completely off the hook either. But Mika, the center is the most important position. And it's just, I walk away from this game mainly thinking, like, I don't know what you're going to do here, but Laviolette, it goes back to what I said. It can't be about politics. It's got to be about who's playing the best. And I can tell Laviolette's getting better with it. He's giving more time to that Chytil line. But Zibanejad, you know, whether it be even strength or power play, like, it's got to be less until he shows more. It just has to be. So -3 on the night for Zibanejad. I believe he has the worst plus minus on the team. And potentially by a decent margin too, when you consider certain factors. It's an eye test thing more than the stats. So again, trends continuing. That's what I see here. Not necessarily in the Panarin line. And you know what? One other note with Trocheck. And look, we're only 9 games into the season. Ways to go. Ways to go. Trocheck doesn't seem quite as effective as he did last season. Just going to say that. To be fair. And look, with Trocheck, like, I don't have a problem with his game at all, right? But I do think, if I'm being honest, I don't know, just been a little bit off. But anyway, let's discuss the game. And, you know, Washington gets into it right away. But not before it's a Rempe McElrath fight at 237. I don't know. I think that this is not really beneficial to anyone. And I know Rempe is a fan favorite. This isn't me being anti-Matt Rempe. I think you're doing him a disservice by utilizing him this way. So they get into that fight, and then sure enough, crowd's kind of pumped up. At 3:23, it's Alex Ovechkin scoring his 3rd goal of the season, assisted by Dylan Strome and Protas. So just like that, 1-0. And this was one that Igor would want to have back. I think Lindgren might have screened him. They weren't able to get the puck out. I worry about that with Lindgren and Trouba in terms of they're really, both of them are not really the most inclined offensively at all or great with puck movement. And that was, I believe, the 4th line. Or at least some iteration of the 4th line, because I think Edstrom was on for that. Again, a tough time clearing. Ovechkin kind of gets it through, and it trickles behind Igor. So, yeah, if there's one goal that he wants to have back, it's certainly that one. Then a good job of a response. At 4:21, it's that Chytil line. Cooley scores his 3rd goal of the season from Kakko. Really nice job by Kakko to get the puck off the faceoff. I believe that he caused the turnover. And kind of a mini 2-on-1 and a really nice pass by Kakko. Will Cooley finishes it. Again, like, they have been so impressive, not just in Rangers like standards, like within the league. This has been one of the most effective lines in the National Hockey League. I'm not saying that they're going to keep it up to this level, but it's a great, great sign. And just think about a guy like Will Cooley, who like the signs are there that this can be someone that I think can really be an effective, let's say, middle six player. Maybe third line is where he nets out, but hey, I wouldn't be surprised, like with his physical tools, that this can be someone that can slot into the top six every now and then. We'll see. Might be jumping the gun there, but that ties it up at one. But then the Capitals, yet again, they're able to score, and it's Ovechkin who does it again at 5:10 of the first period. Ovechkin scores his fourth goal, second of the night from Protas and Strome. So this was a play where I believe it was Keandre Miller who turns it over, and then Zibanejad kind of weak as far as his defending, and it ends up with a pretty easy goal for Alex Ovechkin to make it 2-1 Caps. As I believe Fox was trying to defend that, as he was the only one that was kind of around, and just an easy goal for Ovechkin. Then goal 3 for the Caps comes after a penalty kill, I believe. Yeah, Sam Carrick trips, is called for tripping Scarbosa. Rangers kill it off. And again, Ranger penalty kill, that continues to be good. Rangers special teams in general has been pretty strong. But they kill it off, and then what? How long after? 15 seconds after the Cap score. It would be Connor McMichael scoring from Radish and Sandin. And this was a bit of a scrambly play as well that leaves McMichael all alone in front. I'm not sure where Braden Schneider was going. It kind of left Mancini in. I believe Zibanejad was kind of out of position. And it leads to the Capitals making it 3-1. And that would be the score at the end of the first. But Dylan Strome hooks Sam Carrick at the 20-minute mark. So the Rangers start out with the power play in the second period, and they score. And it would be a Kreider-Zibanejad combination. So again, like, they are capable on special teams of getting things done, whether it's pretty or not. But Kreider, with his typical in front of the net goal, his sixth goal of the season from Zibanejad and Trocheck, makes it 3-2, 30 seconds into the second period. And then at 3:43, Ryan Lindgren is called for hooking Andrew Mangiapane. And then at 4:17, Alex Ovechkin interferes with Vincent Trocheck. So what ends up happening here is it's 4-on-4. And you end up getting a couple of 4-on-4 goals. So Protas scores his second goal of the season from Sandin and Van Riemsdyk on this 4-on-4. And this was one that I believe Keandre Miller was mainly at fault for, where he gets beaten to the puck, then Protas beats him to the spot, and it's a goal. I think Zibanejad and Kreider were also the forwards on for this goal as well. It would have to be, because that would be the only way, I think, to explain the -3 for them. So I think that they were the forwards. But again, Keandre Miller, just like, not good. And I thought playing with Adam Fox would have just helped in general. It doesn't seem to have done that at all. So it makes it 4-2, but a quick response by the Rangers, and it's Philip Chytil. His fourth goal of the season from Mancini is trying a really nice pass by Victor Mancini, and Chytil with a nice little tip-in to quickly make it 4-3. So the Rangers keep on kind of getting that quick response, and then the Rangers get a quick 5-on-3 opportunity, because at 5:56, Van Riemsdyk interferes with Fox. So how long would it have been? Not very long. But there was a 5-on-3 for about what? Less than 20 seconds. And the Capitals kill that off, and then they kill off the 5-on-4. Then at 9:24, Victor Mancini's called for delay of game. Rangers kill it off. So we go to the third period. And again, keep in mind, the shots on goal, the shot attempts, totally in favor of Washington. And that only continues in the third period. This was not a good, okay, Rangers, threw the kitchen sink at the Caps and almost came back. No, not really. Logan Thompson, who I'm mentioning for the first time, he was in net, not Charlie Lindgren. So Thompson really wasn't great, honestly, but he didn't matter. The Capitals controlled play. At 2:59, Zibanejad interferes with Scarbosa, so penalty for Mika there. Rangers kill it off. And like I said, there was a 6-on-5 for a bit. I thought, again, Panarin wasn't quite right. That whole line, really, forgetting about the Mika line, which we know consistently has not been really effective. Surprisingly, not much of any offense from the Trocheck line. So it ends up in a Nick Dowd empty net goal, his third goal of the season from John Carlson in 1924, and the Caps win it 5-3. So again, this is just things that we've seen that rear its ugly head in a loss. And I think, like I've said, the winning almost makes it worse because it puts them in these habits where it's like, hey, we can still kind of play half-ass and win because they have the talent to do so. And against certain opponents, it works. It didn't against Washington. So now they will head back home and take on the Ottawa Senators, a team that's coming off of an 8-1 win. So a confident bunch for sure, and one that is not going to be easy to go against. I think Ottawa, they're ascending. Will they make the playoffs this year? Maybe not, but I don't think they're far off. And the Rangers need to bounce back. So they will go home, and they will be home for, let's see, is it just the next 2 games? No, it looks like it's more than that. This will be, I believe, a 3-game home. Yeah, 3 games at home. Senators, Islanders, and Sabres are going to be the games. And yeah, we'll see what happens here. But 6-2-1, the record is much better than the habits and playing the right way, if you will, which is a pretty common phrase in hockey. But we'll see. Again, if it were me, more Chytil and co ice time, less Zibanejad and co ice time, and for the defensemen, let Zach Jones get more of a chance, as well as Mancini, and have it be at the expense of some of the veterans, if that's what the plan is. Because this is not Chad, like, Zach Jones and Victor Mancini are not Chad Ruedel. You can't just sit them and expect things to get better. And then while I'm at it, Matt Rempe, keep him down and stay down until he's ready to come up and actually give him meaningful minutes. So there you go. Rangers Capitals ends in a 5-3 Washington win, and it really, and that's with an empty net goal, but it really could have been a lot more than that. Washington was the better team. Rangers will look to clean things up as they will head home to take on the Ottawa Senators. Rangers drop to 6-2-1.